Hi everybody, Sean Holsinger here from holsingersflyshop.com. Bringing another video today, another nymph video, and this one's a pretty common one. It's called the Tungsten Torpedo, and it was actually created by Kevin Compton, who actually doesn't live too far from the shop. And anyway, we're going to get into tying it. It's a simple fly, it's easy to tie, it's one that I use, and I use it in a bunch of different colors, and I'm going to tie it in well, actually, I'm going to show it to you here. You can see it on the vise right now. I tied it in a fluorescent chartreuse, which is a great color. Tied in olives, browns, even orange. I'll tell you another good color is a watery olive, which works great for the sulfur hatch in the spring. But this one here you see is fluorescent chartreuse. I'm going to tie it in brown. What this makes is a great mayfly pattern. So let's get into tying it. It's super easy. Another thing I want to show off today is if you watched my last video, you saw us that we introduced Trutta hooks. And get her in focus there. There we go. You can see the Trutta hook here on the vise. You can see the nice big hook gap to it and how the point turns up into it, and I really like that. It really seems to hold the fish well. This is a great hook. The one we're going to tie it on is a size 14. I tie this down. I like the 18s and the 16s particularly, but the 14 makes great video quality. So we're going to tie it in a 14 for the video, but don't be afraid to go way down on it. Like I said, Trutta hook, upside downy, size 14. First thing we're going to put on is the 3.3 millimeter gold bead, and again, change the bead to fit whatever you want, to fit whatever color, however you like to tie it. Some guys, I know, if you watched Nick Malloy tie last week, he's a big copper guy. He uses a ton of copper beads. I know he tied silver on his one, but he likes copper too, so I like gold a lot. So we're going to tie this with gold. I'm going to start out with some 140 denier brown thread. Like I said, I'm going to make a mayfly imitation. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off about 6 strands of a coq de leon, medium pardel, and I'm going to hold it up there. I'm going to see what length I want it. It's going to be the same length as the hook shank there, and then I'm going to tie it in on the side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it in on the side, and it'll pull itself right up on top. Okay, now what I'm going to do, one of the keys, and whenever in the last video on the waltz worm that Nick Malloy tied, we're keeping things thin on our check nymph patterns. We're keeping them thin so they cut through the water real quickly. This fly is no different. So what we're doing is I'm tying it down and I'm making side-by-side wraps, and I'm only going to go about halfway back on this. The reason being, next thing I'm going to do is, it's all about keeping it thin. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the wire on now, and I'm going to do it by, I'm going to put 2 pieces of wire. This is slightly different than the original pattern. I like to tie with wire instead of a piece of, sorry, I'm tying here. I'm making sure my wraps are good and nice and side by side so it covers it up tight. You can see how I put real nice tight wraps on there. The original pattern calls for a piece of thread, like a floss, a black piece. I like to tie wire because I can wrap the 2 pieces of wire side by side together real quickly. So I use a piece of small gold and a piece of small black. And you can see how I tied them in side by side, and I went back to actually where the bend of the hook really starts, the curve of it starts, and I stopped there because I don't want my tail to curl over. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to keep wrapping this forward, and I'm going to go tight on my wraps so I cover everything up and nothing shows through, but I don't build hardly any body. And as you see, I kept that nice and clean right up through there. I made a nice super thin body, and now we're going to add a rib. So then we just grab our 2 pieces of wire, rib it up, and we're going to get on this 14, we're going to get about 3 to 4 wraps, and then we're just going to tie it off right behind the bead, and then I'm just going to helicopter my wire off. Okay, one at a time works a little better. So you helicopter your wire off, set them aside for your next one, and the last thing we're going to do is we're going to put a little collar. And I'm going to use a dubbing loop. The original calls for Jan Simon, the peacock dub, and I don't have that. We don't carry it at the shop. What I really like, what I substitute it with, is Spiky Squirrel dub and chocolate brown ice or prism dub. And I'll do a 50-50 blend, and you can see I just blended the two together here, and they make a really nice, buggy, flashy dub. I do just 50-50, and it's real simple. Just get it all nice and even together there. Now that's too much, I guarantee it. So I'm going to spread that out in my dubbing loop, and there we go. And then I'm just going to close up my loop, spin it around. And then I like to pull out the extra fibers and get them nice and long. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make about 2 wraps around here is all it's going to take. 2, and if I do too many more, it's going to get too big and overpower. We're going thin. Remember, we made that nice thin body. I don't want to put too much dubbing on there. So we're just going to make about 3 wraps to hold that down. Trim it off and pull out the extra dubbing. Alright, and then we whip finish. And just make a nice whip finished collar here on it. About 5 spins on it. And that's good. Okay, and there. That is all that's to tying that very simple fly. You see that it only took me a couple seconds to tie it. And it's a very buggy fly, and it has that mayfly profile. And that's the big thing. That's what when I'm out guiding, a lot of times, it kind of looks weird. Not weird, but you think a fly like this, you know, you wonder what it represents. So a lot of times when I'm out guiding, I'll pick up a rock and show the guys there's mayflies under all the rocks. And this is, if you lay this against the rock on against one of those mayflies, silhouette is right there. You know, you don't have the legs. This collar makes for the buggy legs on it, but it's the silhouette matches perfect with that big heavy head on the bead. Makes the big heavy head tapered down into that tail. So a great pattern, tied in a bunch of different colors, so you have, you know, so you can have a dark one, a brown one, some olives, some greens, different things like that. Give them something flashy too, pinks, oranges, stuff like that too. You never know what they want. Trout are crazy. Anyhow, if you have any questions about any of my videos, I'm going to tag right down here in the bottom right now is my email address. It's holsingersflyshop@gmail.com. If you ever want to ask me any questions or get a hold of me, you can definitely just shoot me an email. I'll be glad to answer it and try to help you out as best as you can. And everything we use to tie these flies, we always carry it in our shop at holsingersflyshop.com. So thanks again for watching, everybody. Please take the time to subscribe and follow my Facebook and my Instagram channels. Until next time, I'm Sean Holsinger.